I learned a new word this week, glossophobia, also known as the fear of public speaking. Hi, my name is Janice Angela Burt, and I am a glossophobic. Clark's speech last week hit so close to home for me. We are obviously different individuals with very unique life paths and events that have happened to us. But the way he spoke of his fear of public speaking, it literally felt as though he was reading my mind. You see, in high school, I also competed in some speaking events and did some dramatic interpretation. And I did a pretty decent job, winning some awards and even a little bit of money. I was always nervous, but I felt alive and excited when I spoke in front of groups. Now, I know the exact moment that the nerves turned into full-blown fear. It was a Lions Club event, and my speech had something to do with America being this melting pot of different cultures and people groups and how beautiful that was. I had won the previous 2 competitions, and so now I was in the finals. It was just me and one other girl. I was a sophomore and she was a senior. And there was a $5,000 scholarship on the line. And I don't come from a very wealthy family, so $5,000 was like, yeah!
Yeah.
On the previous competitions, we had been allowed to use some sort of notes. But this was the finals. No notes. Oh, and also, I had never invited people that I knew to my other competitions. This was the finals, so I decided to invite a couple friends and family. And so there I am, about a minute into my gripping speech, when all of a sudden, nothing. Nothing. I couldn't remember the next word. I couldn't remember the next paragraph. I couldn't remember what my speech was about. If you would have asked me my name at that moment, I couldn't have told you what my name was. Blank. Blank. And I remember looking down and thinking, you will not sit down. You will stand there until you remember something. And the worst part about it is I could hear literally a pin drop in that room packed full of people. So I stood there for probably 45 seconds, which is a very long time in speech time. And then all of a sudden, something popped into my head, and I was able to continue my speech and manage to finish. I lost, of course, but worse than losing that speech, I lost my courage. The doubts started creeping in, the fear. Time went by and life happened, and I found myself becoming increasingly more and more scared to speak in front of any type of group. And that brings us to this recent time period with all you lovely people. And many of you saw me shaking uncontrollably up here just a few weeks back. I, just like Clark, and the rest of you that have this fear, want to overcome, to conquer, to rise above it. Some practical tips I found on how to do that: be well prepared, be organized, practice, practice, practice a lot. Do a lot of deep breathing exercises. That actually helped. Focus on the material and not so much on the audience. All of which I think is great advice, and I'm going to be applying all of these practical tips in my speeches to come. But for me, at the end of the day, when it all boils down, it has to do with fear of failure and rejection. And as John Mayer, the singer-songwriter, would say, walking like a one-man army, fighting with the shadows in your head, living of the same old story, knowing you'd be better off instead if you could only say what you need to say, say what you need to say. And if we could say it without expectation, just as an expression, to be perfectly who we are without feeling like other people must validate us or approve of us, to be worthy or good or legitimate or of value. Because you know what? We are those things already, with or without anybody else's approval. Our own unique voices and expression is what it's all about. Let us not allow this fear to lock us up again, to hold us down and defeat us. Let us, with awareness, rise up little by little, learning from our past, and leave our imprint, our true expression, our own unique voices out in the world, if for nothing more than to say, I, Janice Burt, I, Alicia O'Hara, I, Rachel Monet, was here. Thank you.